Everyone, I just want to make sure there's no issue with audio. Can you just please type yes into the box? I'm going to write into the chat box right now. So just write yes into the chat so that we are all here. So I'm going into the chat right now. Please just write yes into the chat box. Okay, so let's go from there. Everybody, I see a million yeses. Do you also mind the kids or the parents? Do you mind just typing what grades you're in? So like if you're in 11th grade right now or a parent of an 11th grade, we just want to know where you are so that you have it, okay? And parents, students, let's get as much information as possible out of this. And you're welcome to type questions that you have. And I'm really excited. This is our first ever Zoom webinar on the FAFSA, the Pell, the TAP, the EXCELSIOR. Who would have thought this is the new normal? Okay, so let's get started without further ado. There should not be any sound issues, and I hope that we're ready to go. Let's get going from there. So I'm gonna take off my spotlight, and I'll take myself off video, I guess. So we'll say bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. All right, so we're re-spotlighting and I'm gonna go off video and I'm also gonna go off mute. So you guys are good. Enjoy, you ladies are in charge. I'm actually gonna shut up and let you control the webinar. All right, let's go.
So much.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hi, my name is Lorraine, and usually I come to Kweller's place of tutoring and give this webinar, but unfortunately we are not able to do that. So right now I want to talk about the FAFSA's, Pell, TAP, EXCELSIOR scholarship, everything about financial aid. So I just click next all the time. Just
click right down there. Just click next. Wait, nope. Hang on.
Give me a moment here.
There you go.
All right. So this this webinar is again. What?
I said I'm going to sign.
Okay. Just stay here 1 minute. Basically, the rules could change every year. The form could change every year. But right now, we're talking about the 21-22 school year. My first thing is that when you are applying to schools, is to go into each of the schools' financial aid section and see what's required for each of the schools. That's the main thing, to see what forms are required. All right, and there are, sorry here, I'm getting this here. How come it's not changing here? I'm sorry.
That's okay. Where's my mouse? There you go.
All right, so I am with Wilson College Consulting. We're in Belmore. So you're just clicking here?
Just click right down here. Anyway, why does that keep happening?
Yeah, or you can just do the right and left. I think that'll work also, the right or left.
All right, there are two types of aid. We have merit or scholarship aid and need-based aid. The merit and scholarship is the criteria is your grades, SATs, ACTs, maybe other talent, arts, athletics, etc. Your need-based is the college determines if your expected family contribution or EFC is lower than their cost of education. So when you do the forms, this is what's determined. The cost of education may include tuition, room and board, personal expenses, books, things like that, minus your expected family contribution, and that equals your student's financial need. All right, so suppose that you have a community college, a New York State college, or a private college. The community college, say, costs $5,500 a year, minus your $6,000 family contribution from FAFSA. So basically, there's no need. So hopefully, if that happens, your family contribution is higher than the cost of education. You would get that a free education for that. If it costs $20,000 and your family contribution from the FAFSA is $6,000, then you have to equal a $14,000 need. As with the private schools, they could be anywhere from 50 or higher, having a $6,000 family contribution from the FAFSA. There is a $44,000 need. Now, this is met in different ways. All right, this financial need is met by grants, loans, work study, and scholarships. If you decide to pursue need-based aid, your son or daughter will need to complete the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. You must complete the FAFSA to apply for and receive any kind of federal loans. We'll discuss that later in more detail. Some schools also require you to complete the FAFSA if you are receiving a merit-based scholarship, not only just for federal aid, but also for merit-based scholarship. This application can be completed after October 1st for the 21-22 school year. All right, to fill out the FAFSA, you'll need the student's social security number, driver's license, if they have one, records of any money made in 2019, the W-2s, parents' 2019 federal income tax, and parents' income records for untaxed income, such as child support, or maybe some sort of retirement money that is put aside from their W-2. The student and parents' current bank statements, what they're asking for is the parents' investments and cash. So you also, if you have an alien registration or permanent resident card for the student, that is also going to be required. Also, the 6-digit federal code for each school which the student is applying. And that, as we're going through the FAFSA, can be found on the website. This form must be completed every single year. If you do not do this form every year, you will not continue getting the aid. So remember, every single year, the online website is www.fafsa.ed.gov. And make sure, please, that you only go to that website. That's very important because there are websites that will charge you. So make sure that you go to that website. As of now, if you haven't done so already, you can apply for an FSA ID, Federal Student Aid ID number. That ID number is actually your signature. You have to get one, and the parent, one parent has to get one. Don't give this ID number out to anyone. How do you get this ID number? Is by going to the website, studentaid.ed.gov. That follow the instructions, and that will give you all the information on how to get this FSA ID. Where are you? Still not doing it right. Okay, the FAFSA inquires about basic information such as the name, address, date of birth, basically the things you already know. Remaining questions fall into 5 basic categories. Who has to complete this form? How many people are in your household? How many of those people will be in college? The income and assets of student and parents, and which colleges should get this information. The FAFSA is to be completed by the student and their parents. Basically, the parents will be doing this FAFSA form and putting in student information. And how many people are in the parent's household? Well, of course, you must include the student, the parents, whether there's 1 or 2, the parents' other children, and other people that live with the parents that the parents provide more than half the support. Example, grandparents. Maybe your grandparents live with you. You put them down as people within your household. What if the parents are divorced or separated? So if they're divorced or separated, the student should complete the form with the parent in which the student lived the most in the last 12 months. Now, what if the parent is remarried? If the custodial parent has remarried, then there is a legal obligation to include the step parent in the family. and also provide the information about his or her income. Even if they're not willing to put any money toward their education, you must put their information down. It is a requirement. So how many people in the parent's household will be in college? Of all the people who are listed in the family, how many will be enrolled in college? At least half time. Half time is 6 credits or more during the school year. Do not include the parents, even if they are in college, but of course include your student. The FAFSA is divided into 2 sections, one for the student and one for the parent or parents. The FAFSA will inquire about your income from the previous year. If you're applying for the 21-22 academic year, the FAFSA will ask for the information about 2019. They will ask for both taxed and untaxed income. Untaxed income may include child support, untaxed interest, dividend income that's not taxed, or deferred compensation from your employer. You must also include business income. The form will ask about assets the parent and the students have. That will be cash, savings, investments, 529s, etc. A word of advice, it's better to have the assets in the parent's name rather than the student's name. And who gets this information? There's a section in which you can list which colleges you want to send this information to. The first time you do the FAFSA is only up to 10 colleges at one time. By listing these colleges, the universities will be able to receive your FAFSA information electronically. You do not have to worry about sending it yourself. Now, my advice is to, of course, send the colleges that are due first. If you're doing early action, early decision, put those on first. Put the ones that have the deadline dates later on your second FAFSA. Now, on this FAFSA form, they have what is called an IRS retrieval. That means you are transferring your financial information from your IRS tax return to the FAFSA form. If there's an issue, the number to call at the IRS is 1-800-908-9946. Or you can visit the website at www.irs.gov to order a tax return transcript. In order to use the IRS retrieval, you will now be using the parent FSA ID. One of your parents, whether they're the mother or the father, they will have the FSA ID. They will need that information to use the retrieval tool. And it will explain to you how to use it as you go along. So what happens to all this data? So after you completed the form, both the student and the parent sign the form using their FSA ID. In a few weeks after submitting your FAFSA, you will receive a student aid report, or SAR. The SAR is a summary of the information you provided on the FAFSA. Read the SAR. If there is a problem on your FAFSA with the information, it will be indicated on that first page. What it's going to say maybe is for the mother, maybe you didn't change your name when you got married on your Social Security card. Maybe you put your married name and not your maiden name. So please make sure that you put the proper information down. As far as birth dates, make sure you put the right birth dates down, the right Social Security numbers down. These are all very important pieces of information. Okay. Final hint, submit your FAFSA after October 1st with the 2019 tax returns as soon as possible after that date. List the schools that you want your information sent into the college, in the college section. Be sure the parent and the student electronically sign and date the form. Always keep a copy of your FAFSA. Cost of attendance, be proactive. You have tuition, mandatory fees of various kinds. You have room and board, books and personal expenses, and other items. This is what the college considers as cost of attendance. The other application items. Even though you have completed the FAFSA, certain schools may require additional forms. Now, that's why I said to you, when you are applying to the schools, go into the financial section of each of the schools and see what is required. Maybe not just the FAFSA, but maybe they're going to ask for an institutional form. Often schools have their own financial form they may want you to complete. When you look up the school, it will tell you. The schools may ask you for the parent's federal tax return and W-2s. They may want a copy of the actual tax returns, or maybe a copy of the tax return transcript, which you can order online, which we talked about previously. They may want a copy of the student's federal tax return. If the students did not file, they may want a statement claiming that he or she did not file one, or something known as a non-filer statement. Sometimes the schools have their own non-filer statement. Again, look that up for the schools that you are applying to. Very important. Some of the schools, and again, in your student aid report or SAR, this federal verification form may be requested. So if your FAFSA was selected for verification, you may receive this within the SAR, and sometimes they're just selected randomly. Also, something that may be required for specific schools, mostly private schools, some of the private schools require the CSS, or College Scholarship Service, or the CSS profile form. That is, again, often requested by private colleges that give out substantial amount of their own institutional aid. This CSS profile form is only for college money. It has nothing to do with federal money, only college money. If the parents are divorced or separated, they could also ask the non-custodial parent to fill out a CSS profile. This is something that they will tell you at the end of the profile form when it is completed. Okay, so filling out the CSS college profile form. It is, again, a two-step process. You must determine first if the colleges want the student applying for this form. You register for this at www.collegeboard.com/profile. When you do this, the student usually has a login for College Board. Maybe they used it for their SATs. You use that login only. Do not try to register for a second login. And now, of course, the second step is actually completed the profile. Say unlock the profile, the CSS you have to pay for. There's a registration fee of $9 and $16 for each college that you send your information to. Make sure, again, complete this and send this form out before the deadlines. Always check your deadlines. College use this profile to award their own institutional aid. Beware, this profile is about 20 to 25 or more pages and requires a lot more information about your income and assets than the FAFSA form. So the colleges that require the profile will want information about your current mortgage, the balance owed on your primary mortgage, as well as a home equity. And they also want your mortgage payments without the taxes. Additional questions about your assets. If the parents are separated, divorced, maybe they want to know about unreimbursed medical expenses, that which you pay out of pocket. Not what you have to pay in full, but what you actually pay. Not what you pay for your medical insurance, but the medical expenses. They also want to know what is in the parents' retirement funds, maybe a 401, 403B, an IRA, a KEO, etc. Information on real estate owned in addition to your home that you live in. Information on all businesses owned. Each business that a parent owns, they want all that information from the business tax return. They also may require that your non-custodial parent complete his or her profile as well. Rule of thumb, send all the information the colleges request. Do not send anything that they don't ask for. If in doubt, call financial aid office of the school. The types of financial aid: grants, loans, employment. Grants, gift aid, scholarships, they don't have to be repaid. That could be a federal Pell Grant up to $6,345, depending on your income. There is also a federal supplemental grant, which you could get up to $4,000. Our New York State grant of Tuition Assistance Program, or TAP, for residents of New York State going to a New York school. You could receive up to $5,165. Again, these grants do not have to be repaid. About loans. Loans aren't necessarily bad, and they can be very helpful if used correctly. Borrowing money may help the student accomplish the goal of getting an education. Repayment terms on most school loans are very reasonable, and lenders will work with you during repayment. The student loan rates for this year, the 2021 school year, for the subsidized student Stafford loan, and we'll go over what each one of these mean, is 2.75%. And you don't pay it back till 6 months after graduation. And graduation means graduate school as well. Direct unsubsidized loans are also 2.75%. That interest accrues immediately. As soon as the money is dispersed to the school, that money accrues interest. Also, there are alternative loans. Alternative loans meaning private loans that if maybe this money is not enough, you can also go out to different banks and get alternative loans or private loans. Some of the institutions have their own school loans. Certain schools will do that. The other way to do it is taking out a parent loan or a federal plus loan. This year, the parent loan is 5.3%. Interest rates change every year according to the U.S. Treasury bill. What I gave you was this year's. As of July 1st of 2021, those interest rates will probably change again. So you won't find that out. Those interest rates don't come out until the beginning of June. All right, so now I'll explain the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized. Subsidized means that while the student is in school at least half time, again, 6 credits, there is no interest accruing on that loan. And the student does not have to make payments again until 6 months after graduation. However, when the student has graduated, interest will start accruing on that subsidized loan. Unsubsidized means that the interest will accrue after the first disbursement is made. And this is not need-based. What is given to a first-year student or a freshman is usually $3,500 subsidized, again, no interest accruing, $2,000 unsubsidized. If you're a second-year student, it's $4,500 subsidized, $2,000 unsubsidized. You saw it went up $1,000. Now, as a third and fourth year, junior and senior in college, it goes from $5,500 subsidized, and again, $2,000 unsubsidized. And this is the limit that students can take out through the federal government. This is all they will allow them to do. And usually at the end of their 4 years undergraduate, it comes out to about $27,000 without interest accrued. Okay, now your alternative loans, their interest rates vary. Depending on, usually it depends on the co-signers. All the student loans, because the students have no credit, the private loans will go according to whoever is co-signing. The students cannot take out a private loan by themselves. They have no credit behind them. So somebody has to co-sign for them, whether it be a parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, whoever. The interest rate will go according to the co-signer. Then there's institutional school loans, and the interest varies there from between school to school. The parent loan, or the plus loan, has a fixed rate. And again, like I said, that rate changes from year to year, but each year it is fixed at that particular rate for that school year. That rate does not change at all. So in addition to the interest, they charge a loan fee. The student loan fee is 1.069%. The parent loan fee is 4.276%. So in other words, if you take out a $10,000 loan, they're going to take out $428 off of that loan, right off the top. Okay, a federal work study is a job offered to the student to earn money while they're going to school. And also, it's like a little job on campus. They make some money. That they have a limit to how much money they can earn each year as well. And when you do the FAFSA form, after you had a work study, they will say to you, well, how much money did that student earn? And say it's $1,000 for work study that they made. You put down they made $1,000. Well, then there's a spot that says, well, how much of that was work study? And you say, well, it's $1,000. The federal government will consider that student making $0. That's what they're talking about, a job for federal work study. Okay, so there's other miscellaneous stuff. So if you want to maybe appeal, you have maybe a loss of a job by a parent, unusual medical expenses, primary or secondary expenses for other children in the family, daycare expenses, a parent repaying his or her own student loans. These are all things that we can put into an appeal letter. So, oh, you went back.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm not sure if you want to put questions now, or we'll still go on. And at the very end, I want to talk about the Excelsior now. You go further.
I'm just thinking maybe it's better to do the question. The Excelsior is how many minutes?
Probably about 10.
You know what? Yeah, let's knock it out. Let's knock out the Excelsior because there are a lot of questions in the chat box and I'll just read them out. So let's go straight into Excelsior and then we'll do all the questions. All right, let's go.
That's great. Oh, I'm sorry. We're jumping to the top. I apologize. There's one other form. If you are in New York, if you apply to a New York school or go to a New York school and live in New York, there is a form called Tuition Assistance Program that you could get $5,165 for. You can get, if you're going full-time or part-time, certain forms, those have to be filled out. And you use your New York State tax return line 37. As long as your income is 80,000 or more, you could possibly get TAP. All right, now we're going to the Excelsior Scholarship. Okay, what is the Excelsior Scholarship? If the parents and the students together, combined, have an adjusted gross income of $125,000 or less, you can apply for this Excelsior Scholarship. All right, this is the only way, and again, only a New York school. And you must do the FAFSA and the TAP form again in order to get this scholarship. Does New York State take into consideration student parent assets like the FAFSA? And no, it only is your adjusted gross income. You can have assets up $1 million. They don't care. It is just your adjusted gross income of $125,000. The Excelsior Scholarship Award will be applied to any remaining tuition charges once other aid is subtracted, like Pell or TAP. So say you have the Excelsior Scholarship is $6,500 and your Pell and TAP are $1,000 together. Your Excelsior Scholarship will then be $5,500. It will only cover tuition, not room and board, not any sort of other fees, but just tuition. The requirements for the Excelsior is 30 credits per year to maintain your scholarship eligibility. Credits can be earned across the terms of the academic year. In other words, fall, winter, spring, and summer. You must take 30 credits each year. And yes, they do take into consideration any credits from high school that is transferred over to that particular college. Now, when you take, you must have a passing grade as determined by the degree program. Now, you can't take 30 credits and not pass it. You have to pass all 30 credits. The applicants have to go for your associate's degree or bachelor's degree. If you go for a second bachelor's, it will not count, or a second associate's or a graduate degree. They do not consider Excelsior for that. If the part of the Excelsior also after graduation, you must live and work in New York for the amount of time that you get the Excelsior Scholarship. In other words, if you get it all 4 years, you must live and work in New York for 4 years. But if you go to graduate school, don't worry about it. You're still going to school. You can go in a different state. It doesn't matter. Here I was talking about graduate study. We'll go, yeah. If for some reason you do not live in New York or work in New York for that amount of time, that Excelsior Scholarship will turn into a 0% loan. So it's interest-free loan. If for some reason you get a great job in California, take it, but the money will have to be paid back to New York State. And again, the FAFSA and the TAP have to be applied for every single year and you have to apply for this Excelsior within the filing time deadline. There is also what's called an enhanced tuition award. Some private schools give out what's called an enhanced. It's very similar to the Excelsior, only this gives out a straight $6,000. $3,000 is from the school, $3,000 is from the state. And again, $125,000 adjusted gross income for both parent and student together. For the 21-22 school year, for the 2021 school year, actually, there were 33 private colleges taking part in this. So that was pretty good. So you have to see if your college is within this enhanced. New York State also has, if you did well on your certain tests, they give you $500 annual. And you have to receive a GPA of 3.3 or higher, maybe graduate with honors, have a 3 or higher on 2 APs, and graduate in the top 15% of your high school. Your guidance counselor will let you know if you are eligible for this merit scholarship. Okay, that's it. So let's go with questions. Joanne and I will be answering both those questions, all those questions for you.
Do you want me to just read them out? Because they're quite a lot. Or
Yes,
Joanne, do you want to read them out?
We don't see the questions.
I can get them, but it's probably easier.
Why don't you read them out and then we'll answer them all.
Okay, so I'm starting, Natalia. I finished the FAFSA, no link to the TAP appeared. HESC email never arrived. I'm having trouble finding a direct link to fill in the TAP.
Okay, the TAP form is not filled out until a school is chosen. Once you decide, because the TAP form can only take one school. Once you decide what school that you're going to, and it is a New York State school, the website is hesc.ny.gov. And you go there and you apply for TAP at that point.
You scroll down and see where it says apply for TAP.
And then you have to scroll down where it says apply now.
So I don't know if this is a question, you Kako Kubos, I don't know if that's a question. Prior year W-2 divorced parents can lower W-2, can apply FAFSA.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one? I'm not.
Sorry, I'm skipping it. Okay, let's keep going. Natalia, good. Let's keep going. Is expected family contribution fixed, Marion?
Yes, the federal government takes all of the information that is put into the FAFSA form, and they have their own way of calculating that number, and that is a fixed number, yes.
But not every year.
Jay, does a student stipend income form 1099 have to be reported on FAFSA?
Yes. If a student has a 1099 and they make over $600, they are required by law to file a tax return.
Is it, Shani, is it always the income earned 2 years prior?
Yes.
Galaxy, who should the 529 be under?
The 529 money is the parent money. Do not put that under the student, because that money can be moved around to anybody at all. So it is the parent asset. It is an investment for the parent.
Unless it's owned by grandma.
Will IRS, Elena, will IRS forward the transcript to the FAFSA? Do I have to order the transcript myself and attach the FAFSA?
If you cannot retrieve from the IRS, then I would order a tax return transcript from the IRS website, irs.gov.
Beta, what happened if you cannot link the tax return due to an issue, for example, with stolen identity?
Right, that happens. Yes, if you had a stolen identity, you will not be able to retrieve it. What happens is you do have to request a tax return transcript, again, at irs.gov.
It's a 0 on the SAR. What is that?
Are you talking about the EFC being a 0?
I'm not sure. Beta, can you clarify the question? Please review IDOC.
IDOC. That IDOC is generated from the CSS profile. After doing the CSS profile, at the end, it will show the requirements all the schools want. Some of this is the IDOC, which means that you have to upload certain information, and the usual information is parent federal tax return, parent W-2, parent 1099s, student tax return, student W-2, student 1099. If the student does not file a tax return, or the parents do not file a tax return, they're required to file a non-filer statement through IDOC. Also, if the parents have a business, they could require the business tax returns.
50-50 shared custody. Who is the parent who will apply when there's a 50-50 custody?
Usually the way the student lives more than 50% of the time.
Do they verify which parent can apply?
Well, all right, for instance, you have parent 1 where the student lives, and they live in Belmore. Parent 2 lives in Mineola.
Queens. No, New York City, hello.
I'm sorry. All right, I
Queens.
apologize. All right, so you have somebody living in Astoria and somebody living in Forest Hills. Well, the
Yes.
student goes to school in Astoria. How do you do a FAFSA for somebody living in Forest Hills? So you really should apply for the FAFSA in the location where the student goes to school.
So it's where the student, one more time?
You should apply where the student lives, who the student lives with most of the time.
Okay, Sarah, since you don't have to list any equity that you have in your house as an asset, is there an adjustment or offset made for renters?
No. You're talking if you don't own the house and you're just renting. You
What
do
it-
not, just to, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. When you do the FAFSA form, your own personal house that you own is not considered an asset.
So there are a bunch of questions. I just want to get through to all of them. I want to make sure I didn't skip over anyone. Hold on, let me see. What if there's no connection to the divorced or second parents?
Do you mean that there is, then what you have to do is go to that particular school that requires it and get a waiver form. It's called a non-custodial waiver form and fill that out if there's no connection.
Connor, is there somewhere I can print out a blank CSS profile form?
No. Well, not to my
Jay,
knowledge, no.
is the CSS required?
Only for certain private schools.
I'm gonna keep going. Does FAFSA also, Shani, I want to make sure I'm answering. I mean, some of these are like phrases, so wish me luck. FAFSA also requires retirement funds.
The retirement funds they're talking about is the retirement funds that come out of your paycheck each week, month, however you're paid. On your, it's box 12, certain letters, and it'll tell you on the FAFSA form which ones. That is taken out. It's on your W-2 form, box 12. You'll see it.
How much is the TAP, New York TAP?
Depending on your income, on the New York State IT 201, line 37, if it's 80,000 or less, you will qualify for TAP. It could be, I believe it's $5,165, depending is the most. The least you usually get is 500 for the year.
Do all students qualify for subsidized loans?
No. It also it all depends on the EFC. So say you go to a school that where your EFC is 6,000 where you used before and the college is 6,000, you're not going to qualify for subsidized. But if the college is 60,000 and your EFC is 6,000, you will absolutely qualify for a subsidized loan.
Can we revisit the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized loans? Is there a way to backtrack to that slide? The parent wants to see that particular slide.
Of course. The subsidized loan again is interest-free while you're in school, at least half time. The unsubsidized loan interest will accrue with the first disbursement. The loans are dispersed. Loans are dispersed half in the fall and half in the spring.
Catherine, do I need to report a vacation home as part of the assets?
Yes, that asset is an investment. Minus what it is the value of the home. Say it's $50,000, but you have a $30,000 mortgage. The house is only worth $20,000, so you have to subtract the mortgage on the home.
How can I?
As long as you're owning it 100%.
How can I apply for the TAP?
Again, you don't apply for the TAP until you know what school you're going to. And then you have to go to hesc.ny.gov. And when you go
Christine-
down, it says apply now. You have to scroll all the way down.
Christina's asking, if the family pays another child's high school, private school tuition, will FAFSA take that into account?
No, but the CSS profile will.
So the CSS profile will look at the high school tuition.
Yes, they ask if, or even grammar school tuition. They do ask what grade the sibling is in, what, if it's a private school, how much the tuition is, if there's any scholarship, and how much does the parent pay for that private school. Yes, they do take that into consideration.
Christine is asking, so the Excelsior scholarship can only be applied to public colleges?
The Excelsior, correct. But there's also the enhanced, which is similar, that is for private schools.
Can you repeat, Jillian, can you repeat the merit scholarship slide at the end?
Right there.
Yeah, I just saw it, merit, good. Okay, and then is it true that you get more money if we finish the FAFSA earlier? Meaning if you do it in October 1 versus, I don't know, 7 months later?
Well, okay, that's a very good question. All right, you have to you have federal money, but every school has deadlines. So you want to meet every deadline that they have. Some of them require the FAFSA form by a certain deadline and the CSS profile by a certain deadline. So they always say you missed the deadline, you're dead. But the federal money that is generated from the FAFSA form, if you do October 1 or say March 1, the federal money will always be there.
But is it, I want to just take it a step further because I've heard this. It's better to apply October 1. Is that
It is
accurate?
better to apply, yes, because the schools take into account your EFC or estimated family contribution. So doing the FAFSA is very important to do it early and on time. What I was saying was the federal money doesn't run out, but the schools have deadlines for these FAFSA forms. And it is because they need to know how much aid to give to you through the school itself. So yes, it is very important to do it early. Early is good.
Ray, thank you. You just got my mind working with questions. What about if you're doing early decision, early action? That's my question. If you're doing early decision, early action, don't you have to do the FAFSA earlier? Because early decision, early action.
Well, that's what I
restricted early
said to you.
action.
Every school has their own deadline dates. And yes, with early action, early decision, on an average, it's either November 1st or November 15th. So yes, they do have earlier deadlines for early action and early decision.
So if you're applying early to college, you should send your FAFSA and CSS early as well. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
Okay, because again, we have, like at Kweller, the majority of the students we work with tend to apply early to
Yes.
college.
And they do also apply to better schools. The schools want you to do the FAFSA form as soon as possible after October 1st as possible.
So as soon as possible after October 1st is a
Yes.
good
Yes,
definitive
you want to meet all deadlines as well as the CSS profile. Again, there are deadlines for the different schools. Always meet your deadlines to get the most money.
October 1st and October 10th.
Do you have to apply for Irina, do you have to apply for the New York Ames scholarship? Is it given automatically?
The Ames, you have to apply for that.
Oh, the Ames, that you have to apply for.
I'll keep going. Let me keep going. Lana, I'm gonna discuss that after, because it was something that I'm gonna bring up. Let me see what else. Parent needs to create a FAFSA ID to link. Do parents need to create a FAFSA ID to link to the IRS?
Yes, an FSA ID.
Natalia, how do I know if I'm entitled to TAP? What is the total allowed gross income per family, parent plus student?
80,000 on line 37 of your IT 201. That is the state tax return. Together, parent and student cannot earn. When I say earn, I don't mean your W-2 income. There's a lot of deductions taken off before you get to line 37 on your state income tax. That cannot be higher than 80,000.
Wayne, hi Wayne. Do you have any tips about filling your address on the IRS retrieval form so that it matches the IRS has listed for you?
Absolutely. All right, just for instance, say your name is Jose Lopez Rodriguez, but on your tax return, it only lists one last name. You have to put exactly the way it's listed on your tax return. If they misspelled your name or misspelled your address, you must type it in misspelled. And make sure you put in your apartment. If you live in an apartment and it says on your tax return, apartment 4, you need to put down apartment 4. It will not match. Need to match exactly.
Shani, where do parents get their FAFSA ID?
FSA ID.ed.gov. Can you go back to
Wayne, is it best to submit W-2s and the federal tax return as a single document when you send them to schools and ask for them?
when say that one more time about single documents?
Wayne, is it best to submit W-2s and the federal tax return as a single document when you send them to schools and ask for them?
It doesn't matter, but only put one W-2 per page. Don't be putting, 2 or 3 W-2s on a page. One W-2 per page, and you could put it with the federal tax return. It doesn't matter.
Wilfred, if you have twins, we have a couple of sets of twins in the webinar. If you have twins entering college simultaneously, is a financial aid package adjusted?
Yes, because now you're putting 2 in school. So just say if you had 1 student in school and it was $10,000, now you have 2 in school, it will be adjusted to about $5,000 each, because you can still only afford $10,000. So yes, they do adjust it if you have more than 2 or more than 1 in school. Yes.
Is the amount in box 12 considered untaxed income?
Yes.
Wilfred, if my kids are juniors, do they file FAFSA now or October 2021?
October 2021.
Correct. Unless some are applying to college from junior year, where there are just a few kids who have that option. There are some kids who have that, very few. For twins, while they're filing a CSS profile, does the parent information transfer from one sibling to another?
No, unfortunately not.
It doesn't transfer year to year either.
If your home is owned as an LLC partnership, technically you're not an owner, but a shareholder.
Correct. That is considered a business. You do not put that under your own investment. That is no longer yours. It is a business.
What do you mean as long as you own the vacation house 100%?
If you own another house, a vacation house, you're talking a second home, that's your vacation home. That is an investment that you made in a different home. So if you sell it, you get the money. But because you have it as an investment, you have to put that down on the FAFSA as an investment. Not your first home, but that is your second home.
I mean, what if you have, this is my question, what if you like Airbnb a second home?
Well, it doesn't matter. You're still, but now you're renting it?
Correct. Your rent, you have so the house is now an LLC and then you rent the house.
Oh, that's different. If it's an LLC, you're talking something totally different. LLC is a business. If you own a second house and rent it out, it's not a business, it's still an investment.
Interesting. Okay, ready? Shani, how do you decide which school to go to if we don't know how much aid we can receive?
Once you put your FAFSA in and all your applications in, now you're waiting for the decision, are you admitted into that school? Once the school said, hey, you're admitted, then they're going to put together a financial award. Once you get that award, you will know how much money out of your own pocket you're going to have to pay. And then you lay it out all on the table and decide, well, I got to pay this amount for this school, this amount for this school, and decide bottom number what your tuition is going to be. Now, your tuition consists of tuition, fees, room and board.
Which line, Natalia, which line of the IT-201 shows you are eligible for the TAP under 80K?
37.
Lana, for the Excelsior Scholarship, do you need to fill out the FAFSA?
Absolutely. The FAFSA and the TAP. You must fill them both out.
Lana, I'm going to discuss that later. Susan, I'm going to discuss that later. Does credit card debt affect financial aid?
No. You can put that under special circumstances on the CSS profile. That maybe you have credit card debt due to unemployment or something, or maybe you couldn't afford, different circumstances. You could put it as, what do you call it? As, special circumstance. I was looking for the word, special circumstances. But do they take that into account? Maybe.
How do you apply for the New York Ames Merit Scholarships?
You want to take that one? There is a form, and let me say, we have the website. Hold it. You apply in May in your senior year at hesc.ny.gov.
Everybody pay attention. This is a very important. hesc.ny.gov. May of senior year. Don't forget, $2,000. What if the tax address is accountant's address? What if it's the same?
When you're doing the retrieval, again, whatever address is on your tax return, that's the address you need to put down for the retrieval.
What if I don't have a W-2 with my employer?
That's okay. Then it's probably, what do you mean by you don't have, maybe you own a business, or maybe they give you a 1099?
Yes.
Yes, a 1099?
I think, Elena, do you want to clarify it? Yes, assuming it's a 1099.
The 1099, the accountant will take off probably some deductions from that and put it on a different line, not a W-2, not on line 1 of your tax return.
What if one joint custody parent applies for FAFSA and another one, hold on. Parents, you need to write in full sentences. Okay, I think this is the question. Do you have to have a second parent sign the FAFSA, or can you sign it with one?
Only one parent signs the FAFSA form. If there are two parents, it doesn't matter. Only one parent signs that tax return. It doesn't matter which one.
What awards can
the FAFSA?
What awards can be applied? God, there's so many questions. What awards can be applied towards room and board?
Whatever is an overage. I mean, some people get 5,000 from Pell and 5,000 from TAP, and they're in room and board, and whatever the overage of tuition goes toward room and board.
Should you list every school you're going to apply to when you first fill out the FAFSA? If not, then why not?
Okay, yes, you should apply to all the schools. Let me explain that a little bit further. You can only put 10 schools on the FAFSA at a time. Once you do the FAFSA form with the first 10 schools, if you have more, say you have 20 schools, you do the FAFSA, you put down your top 10 schools, watch your deadlines. Then you wait at least at a minimum of 2 weeks because the school, it has to process, the schools upload it. Then you'll take all 10 schools off and put the other 10 schools on. Now you have 20 schools listed on your FAFSA form. If there's 15, you take 5 off, you add 5 on. You still have 15 schools listed on your FAFSA. Okay, always
Marion.
make sure you wait at least 2 weeks for it to process and upload.
Marion, so for early decision, you have to commit without knowing what the financial aid package is of the school.
Sometimes, yes. When you go early decision, it is a contract. You are binded by that contract, no matter what they give you in financial aid, you are bound to go into that school. My suggestion is if you're going to do early decision, make sure you can afford to go to that school, no matter what. If you can't, find out how you can get out of it, and it's not very easy.
Wilfred, are work study programs granted a student-based FAFSA? Are they based on a FAFSA?
Yes.
Thank you, Francis. Guys, give us a huge thank you. I just read like 100 questions. So I want a huge thank you. I think we should type thank you. We're not done. Don't leave the meeting. I see when you leave. Don't leave. I have a few more things I want to go over. Will your SAR show all 20 schools, or will you get 2 SARs?
You'll get 2 SARs.
Okay.
And by the
Here's
way,
my
I'm sorry, they're only going to, the SA,
The first couple of ones, they actually don't
they
show all
only
of them.
show 4 schools at a time on the SAR, even though there's 10 listed. You know what 10 you put on there. They only show on that SAR 4 schools, believe it or not.
Okay, so Lorraine and Joanne, I want to give you a huge, gigantic thank you. Parents, don't leave yet. I see 80. I don't want to see 79. I'll get you. I want to take a moment to see Joanne, please, and to see Lorraine. Hello, ladies. I have a question. Well, I'll give you a minute to breathe. Okay, I'll give you a minute to breathe. So I want to speak for a moment. Everyone, remember, you can also take advanced placement classes. You can take AP exams without taking the course. You can always sit for the exam. That's very important. And if you get a 4 or 5, you'll get transferable college credits. You can take College Now courses. You can take CUNY online. Again, these are transferable credits. So don't forget that you can start the college, I don't know, pretend scholarship process. You can start accumulating college credits while you're in high school, right? So that's going to help you get a leg up. There's also Fast Web, which is, we help at Kweller with that, with the whole scholarship application process. So there's also Fast Web. So don't forget to set up an account. The JP Morgan Smart Start is another really good scholarship. Quest Bridge, QUEST Bridge. You can start applying to scholarships junior, senior year. So, you know, now's a good opportunity. And you can also renegotiate your financial aid award if one school gives you one school gives you another. Here, don't leave. I'm at 81. Somehow we went from 80 to 81. So I clearly just raised my voice at someone who heard it from afar. Okay, ladies, I have a very important question. Why should anyone hire you to help with this process? Can't we just punch in a few numbers and get it done?
Well, I could say yes to that.
Can you
can
come
punch it-
closer? We want to hear you better.
Oh, sorry about that. Well, I could say that, yes, you could
Can we
hire.
see you? I want to see you.
Okay, so then I'm going to switch seats with Lorraine. Give me one
And
second.
while they're switching seats, we're going to keep typing thank you. All 80 of you type thank you, because I forced them to do this on Zoom. Imagine the transition and the shock. Okay, so let's give them a huge thank you for doing this by force. You can imagine how thrilled they must have been to have no choice. Go ahead. So tell me, as you were saying.
Okay, so it's extremely important, especially the first year that you fill out these forms, you must do it correctly and accurately. You will get expertly prepared forms from people that have been in the business. Lorraine worked with Collegiate and Linda for 22 years. I've been in the business a little bit less time. I've been in the business about 8 years, but I worked for a gentleman when I started who was in business for 45 years. So between the two of us, we have uber amount of experience. We know exactly what the schools want, and we know exactly what you can and cannot and should not put on your forms. There's no questions that you would ask. We basically know and would be able to answer you and say, this is what you need to do. This is what you don't need to do. I'll give you a quick example because I know it's time and you want to go home. But we have schools, particularly one like out here on the island, that will look at what you put on the form from year to year. So if the first year you said you had $10,000 in assets and the second year you said 5,000, they will send you a letter and say, why do you have less money in assets this year? We want to know why. We want to know, send us a signed letter as to what you did with your money. So just be sure that you'll be sure if you tell us the stuff, it will be reported correctly and in the correct lines on the correct thing, and not spark off many more questions from the schools.
So price wise, I want to make sure I'm correct. Do you mind just quickly go over like what's your standard pricing?
Okay, standard pricing goes basically on what you need. We have two prices. If you have students that are not applying for the CSS profile, so in other words, they just need FAFSA, and I don't want to use the word just because it's never just, but if they need FAFSA, TAP, loans, verification, institutional forms, non-filer statements, et cetera, then that fee is $1,800. If you need the CSS profile as well, we charge an additional $300, so that's $2,100.
I'm writing it down. Parents, I just want to give all of you a heads up. I know you hear me. I'm very loud. I just want to give you a heads up. There are other places that charge 5,000, 6,000. I don't think they're doing a different job. So I'm just letting you know these prices are good. 1,800 is considering how many hours. And it's not like you ladies work 7 days a week, right? Like you're around the clock on this, correct?
Yeah, in fact, I was here all weekend doing everybody's eye docs to get them done by their deadline. So yes.
So this plus the CSS is am I correct? It's a 25-page document.
It could be. Sometimes they ask you questions just to be on the safe side. They want to know if your parents are benefits of a trust, if you hold money overseas, what kind of cars you drive. Some of them ask what religion you practice and things along those lines, depending on what schools you're applying to. It could get that personal.
So figure 1,800, and then for the upper level schools, it would be another 300. So it would be 2,100 out the door for everything to just be calmly and professionally done. And this is something that students, parents retain your service senior year, right?
That's correct.
So this is an important thing, and can you just type in the chat box your website and your information? If you want, I'll type it in, but if you could type it in your end, it's up to you, whichever route you want to go.
Sure.
Parents, I just want to remind you again and again and again, outside of this webinar, outside of what you've learned today, remember, you can also apply for scholarships. At Kweller Prep, we help with that separately. You can do scholarship applications. There's also the Macaulay Honors, 100% full scholarship. There are honors programs in every college where they have scholarships. There are automatic scholarships. NYU Stern has, the Ann Bryce Scholarship. There are so many opportunities. So what you learned about today, it was the FAFSA, it was the Pell, the TAP, the Excelsior. So this has a lot to do with financial aid and loans and subsidized loans. There's separate opportunity for scholarships like the JP Morgan Smart Start. There's just different opportunities. I can type into the chat box if you want.
Yeah, I'm looking, I can't get onto my chat box because I got the screen share up.
Yeah, it's fine. That's what I figured. So yeah. I don't have the screen share, so I can type it in the box. One of the parents is asking, does the FAFSA require disclosure of overseas bank accounts?
Technically, yes.
How does the Fed or school verify savings accounts?
Just keep in mind one thing, you're signing a federal document with your name and address and your social security number, so they can verify anything they want. Do they do it?
Tax returns.
But it's all on, it's on the tax returns also. You have certain line items that show your dividends and your interest. And so they'll know what kind of money you have based on the dividends you're making.
I think this was a really successful webinar. There were close to 100 parents at peak. There are about 80 right now closing up. I think if you want to go off mute, you can say thank you. Our guest speakers, they're working till 9 o'clock at night doing this. I really want to say thank you. I think this was super informative, and I'm so happy that we got to do this as a webinar. So thank you, parents. You can go off mute. You're welcome to say thank you. I want to hear. I like it. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much.
you.
It was very informative.
Thank you.
Oh, you guys are very welcome.
I hear all the
Thank you.
mothers. Any dads? Hello.
Thank you.
Girl power. Anybody?
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Finally.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome. Good luck to all of
Thank
you. We
you.
hope you all get into great schools.
Thank you very much.
Definitely. Thank you. I've listened to this about 10 times. I want to tell you, I always learn something new. I'm going to make sure to torture the kids in May and remind them that they have to do that $2,000 scholarship application. That's actually very important and a to-do list. So that's it. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, I forgot to type your website in. Thank you, Shani. What's your website?
Okay, it is wilsoncollegeconsulting.com.
Okay, ready? I'm gonna write it. Wilson College. Do you have the page at the, isn't that your first slide? Go back to your first slide. Consulting.com.
Actually, we didn't put, yeah, well, that's it, but we didn't put the website.
Collegeconsulting.com. I typed it in, okay? Can I put your phone number in? Do you have it? It's right, it's on the slide.
It's on that slide, yes.
Okay, so that's it. If anyone else wants to say thank you, we'd love to hear it. I'm going to close up the meeting. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for staying late to do this by force.
And thank you for having us. We very much enjoyed working with you.
Thank you, Francis. Have a good night.
Thank you. Aw, thank you guys. Enjoy. Someday we shall reunite. Okay, let's go. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.